Look at these owls. Notice their synchronicity. That's because they are not real. In fact, nothing in this video is real. It's Blue Beam Project test to facilitate future fake alien extraterrestrial UFO invasion. Unsuspected crowd is stunned when creatures started to appear out of the water. Not only they can see and hear them, now they can feel and interact with them. That's right, new Blue Beam technology allows not only to see and hear the holograms, but actually feel them. It is possible by manipulating the density of air and water molecules. New alien technology allows scientists to slightly increase the distance in hydrogen atom core protons and orbiting electrons. The change is less than 1,000%, yet it does feel like you are touching the real thing. Look how happy and amazed adults and children. They actually interacting with non-existing sea lions, bears and even whales. They can see them, hear them, smell them and feel and touch them. Of course, for now it is controlled environment to test human responses. They need to see how adults, teenagers and children reacting to prevent any bugs and giveaways in the large-scale model. This is truly amazing. Stick around and you shall see how they fooled not only an average crowd, but made a highly trained marine unit to fire at not-existent extraterrestrial alien monster. But how say they are not existent? They are no less real than you and I, except you can bring them to stand still with a push of a button.
This is Joel chapter 2, verse 1, and it reads, Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. Call halal Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of the great millstone who rule well. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom Yasharallah. Let's go straight into the article. Let's blow the trumpet regarding this latest development from the same agency that brought you the moon landing and the space shuttle Challenger disaster. The scripture says to sound the alarm in my holy mountain, meaning to prophesy aloud. The holy mountain being the set-apart government under the rulership of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, which is we Israel. Properly Yasharallah, we Hebrew Israelites, we princes of power. Our assignment and alignment is to teach this truth and warn the world of the ensuing judgment, namely Jacob's trouble, the great tribulation, and the terrible day of the Lord. The headline, which will be on the left and post of the article, reads, NASA hired 24 theologians to study human reaction to aliens. New book. Now, listen to this. Between heaven and earth, where do aliens fit in? That's the question that NASA hopes theologians at the Center for Theological Inquiry, CTI, in Princeton, New Jersey, can answer in a recent effort to understand how humans will react to news that intelligent life exists on other planets. University of Cambridge religious scholar Reverend Dr. Andrew Davison, who also holds a doctorate in biochemistry from Oxford, is one of the 24 theologians enlisted to help with the project, the Times UK reported last week. In a recent statement on the University of Cambridge Faculty of Divinity blog, Davison says his research so far has already seen just how frequently theology and astrobiology has been topic in popular writing during the previous 150 years. For those not in the know, theology is the study of, quote-unquote, the nature of who the heathen and profane call God, and religious belief, theo being Greek for God, whereas astrobiology is the study of, quote-unquote, the origins, early evolution, distribution, and future of life in the universe. Pretty much self-explanatory in name. Reading on. Davison's upcoming book, Astrobiology and Christian Doctrine, due out in 2022, according to the Times, well, that makes sense, will cover part of CTI and NASA's joint spiritual exploration, in which his most significant question is how theologians would respond to the notion of there having seen many incarnations of here they have Christ in the universe, he added in the blog post. Now, incarnations, meaning with reference to reincarnation, Wikipedia says one of a series of lifetimes that a person spends on earth, as well as a person who embodies in the flesh a deity, spirit, or quality. And I'm assuming they mean the celestial qualities and how the two mesh together. As a matter of fact, digging deeper into the article, I came across this blurb from the aforementioned blog written by the good doctor. None are good. And it said this: so far, my attention has mainly been focused on what theologians call Christology, the discussion of who Jesus, here they have Jesus, who Jesus was, and in particular of what it would mean to hold that he is both human and divine. The most significant question there is probably whether one would respond theologically to the prospect of life elsewhere in terms of there having been many incarnations or only the one theologians talk about in Jesus. Sweet baby Jesus. I have also been thinking about the doctrine of creation, especially in terms of how it deals with themes of multiplicity and diversity. That's interesting because in some videos back, I went into this idea of multiplicity in the elites, saying that it was necessary for humanity to span out to other territories, other planets, if you will. In any event, this is all, it's all coming into play all at the same time. So there's no coincidence here. Now, if you can receive it, the fact that NASA has solicited the help of these theologians specifically to perform this study and studies should speak volumes, particularly to you naysayers that struggle with the idea of reincarnation and the notion of not being able to find it anywhere in the scriptures, which is just horse pucky. Which in itself is its own lesson, right? The whole idea of reincarnation. We can go on for hours and hours and hours, but for edification's sake, let's just pull out a couple of verses from the text. The only text that matters at this point being the scriptures. Let's start at Ecclesiastes 1:9, and it says this: the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Which is straight to the point. If you're here now, you've been here before, which explains your episodes of deja vu. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It has been already of old time, which was before us, meaning your past life. There is no remembrance of former things, meaning Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, blotted out the memory of your existence on earth from your last time here. Imagine having the knowledge of your last life, not only the wickedness you committed, but the hell you went through. What do you think would be your disposition, and what would become of you and the others around you? Something to think about. Neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. Again, that's straight to the point. Let's get one more. The one I like to bring out, which is John 1:19. And it says this: and this is the record of John, when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, who art thou? And he confessed and denied not, but confessed, I am not Salakia HaMashiach, whom the world ignorantly calls Christ. Christ in the Greek simply means anointed. HaMashiach, the anointed one. And they asked him, what then? Art thou Elias? And he said, I am not. Art thou that prophet? And he answered, no. Now, why did John say no? Because he didn't know he was Elijah returned. It wasn't revealed to him at that time, which backs up Ecclesiastes 1:11. John the Baptist was Elijah returned, and for those who can receive it, John was Elder Ivir Ban Yamyan, Elder Abba Bivens. Double honors is worthy for the elders that rule well. Let's go to the next verse, 22. Then said they unto him, who art thou, that we may give an answer to them that sent us? What sayest thou of thyself? He said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord, as said the prophet Isaiah. i.e. Isaiah. So clearly from this text, you can see it was a common understanding amongst the multitude of Israel surrounding the process of reincarnation. 1 Corinthians 14 and 32 makes it more clear. The spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets, meaning if you was a prophet in BC, you was a prophet in CE, Common Era, you definitely are a prophet in AD. For Yahweh is not the author of what? Confusion, i.e. disorder, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. So was Yahweh Shai a prophet? He most certainly was. Prophet simply meaning to say before. Did he return in the flesh? A plethora of times. The scriptures tell you he was the first Adam and the last, as well as King Solomon returned. Again, we'll get that for edification's sake and make it plain upon tables. Let's go to 2 Samuel 7 and 12. And it reads, "And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom." And this is the prophet Nathan telling King David what would come to pass and what would befall him. Set up thy seed, speaking of David's heir to the throne, who was Solomon, as David had many seeds. The precept being Acts 2 and 29. Let's get that. Acts 2 and 29, and it reads, "Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his sepulchre is with us unto this day." The irony here being Peter was speaking of himself as Peter is King David, reincarnated for those who can receive it. "Therefore, being a prophet, and knowing that the Most High hath sworn with an oath to him, that of the fruit of his loins, according to the flesh, he would raise up Yahweh Shai to sit on his throne." Yes, Yahweh Shai was from the line of Judah, but it goes deeper than that. Back to 2 Samuel 7 and verse 13 to drive the point home. "He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever." Now, Solomon only reigned for 40 years, so the kingdom Nathan was referring to was, in fact, Yahweh Shai. Verse 14, "I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the stripes of the children of men." Yahweh is saying through Nathan here, he will be his father, speaking of Yahweh Shai. Now, when Solomon was on this earth, when was he ever afflicted in the physical? When was Solomon chastised for his transgressions? Read 1 Kings, the 11th chapter. Now tell me, when did Yahweh Shai ever go off and commit sin, or any that were worthy of death? This right here proves Hamashiach is Solomon reincarnated. And after you read Matthew 1 and 1, figuratively speaking, there should be no more room for debate. And I have it here lined up, and it says this: "The book of the generation of Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, again, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham." I mean, all that right there, just case closed. Now, if the question is the many incarnations of Yahweh Shai and the amalgamation, if you will, of flesh and spirit, Esau gonna do what he gonna do. But we know we don't have to look any further than the scriptures. All this sun, moon, and stars and quasars, all the answers is right here. Someone needs to remind these so-called learned men that Yahweh Shai comes in the volume of the book. Ergo, it should have been the first place to look. Now, obviously, they won't, because they what? The secrets of the Lord are revealed to who? His servants, the prophets. Amos 3 and 7. Never mind, they weren't even given to the to know the oracles of the Most High. So their first instinct is not going to be to search the scriptures. And even if they do, it won't be in depth, because, as I said, the understanding is not given unto them. But, you know, that's Esau. He's got the economic resources to fly high, deep sea dive, and excavate, pursuant to Ezekiel 28 and 3. And being he comes from a long line of cunning hunters, and men of the field, pursuant to Genesis, the 25th chapter. That's what he's inclined to do. Perfect segue, speaking of cunning. There's got to be some other reason dealing with this damn devil. Some ulterior motive to date as to why Esau thought to conduct this study in the first place. After all these years of suggesting there's got to be someone else out there and the thousands of sightings, knowing him, there has to be some reason other than curiosity as to why this has become such a priority. So much so that mainstream media felt the necessity to publicize this story without a clear and definitive finding. And you know how I feel about coincidences. They don't exist. So I'm not at all surprised that immediately after launching a telescope with a name that speaks to catching Jake in a snare, and I'm speaking about the James Webb telescope. The etymology online dictionary can be a beautiful thing. NASA moved ahead with enlisting said theologians. What do you think all the hurry is about? I would say it's because the men of the Lord, starting with the other apostles on down, breaking down the oracles, the prophecies of the Lord, and painting this so-called UAP, UFO thing in its true light. This is why the elite are making it their business to bring all this, well, really to try to normalize this issue now. Esau has known for a long time now that the so-called UFOs are the chariots of the Lord, seeing them pop up so frequently. It speaks to the return of Yahweh Shai, and ergo Esau knowing his end is at hand. Let's go to Micah 2:1, and it says this: Woe to them that devise iniquity, iniquity meaning sin upon sin upon sin, and work evil upon their beds, meaning not only when they are at their leisure, at ease, rest, or in their comfort, but we know, pursuant to Proverbs 20:24, there is no free will. Man's goings are of the Lord, and it is when he is at sleep, Job 33:16, that Yahweh seals his instruction. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. Now, power here in the Hebrew is defined as El, or properly Allah, meaning Esau in the power seed is in a God-like state. And he resides in a God-like, well, he would think in a God-like manner, having the means and the ability to act on their devisings of mischief at will. Now, this can apply to any nation, but it is the elite bankers, the technocrats, the bio-terrorists, the other ology they have been conducting. It is the well-off and politically influential of E-dum-dum present day who have the power in their hands. Remember, the earth is given into the hands of the who? The wicked. And if you don't know who the wicked is by now, then maybe you've come to the right place. I can tell you just as good as he can show you. That's for sure. In any event, I think, and of course, my only proof being the spirit that guides, which to me and those of you concerned with this truth should be good enough. But in any event, I think this is where Project Bluebeam and the long-standing narrative of aliens invading will finally come into play. Again, as I said, the spirit will have to reveal. Spirit will have to reveal it, but presently I feel justified in saying so because they've gone ahead and employed the greatest storyteller and propagator of lies and hoaxes to ever surface. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you NASA. And for those of you who watch my channel, I did a couple of videos on their long list of deceptions. Astute and accomplished men by Esau standards anyways have died helping them facilitate the fallacy of moon landings and surpassing the Van Allen belt. Let's go to Ezekiel 1:4. And it says this: And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud. For those of you new to this thing, whirlwinds and clouds, 9 times out of 10 speaks to the chariots of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Now, imagine hearing men of a certain age who have been at work for 30 plus years in the ology of the Holy Bible. And of course, I'm speaking of the other apostles of Great Millstone on down, telling you that What's being described here is a so-called UFO, and in fact it speaks to the chariots of the Lord who will return to the earth very soon to punish those who have done wickedness in his sight and onto his children, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians. Put yourself in Esau's shoes. Wouldn't you want to get ahead of this thing by creating your own narrative that would normalize the frequent and regular sightings to date? This is not just Esau doing research and seeing how far he can test waters. This is E preparing the way for his false Messiah, his false Christ, his Mahdi, or whosoever he's trying to produce to deceive the sheeple. No coincidence they've went ahead to employ 24 of their own elders, pursuant to Revelation, the 4th chapter. Read it yourself and tell me Esau isn't trying to usurp the prophecies and make a play on similarities to calm and persuade a forthcoming and a ensuing unruly crowd. Let's go to Matthew 24 and 23, and it says this. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Hamashiach, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false anointed, and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Which we know is impossible at all. This was done in the past, and I guarantee they are gearing up to make this manifest now, i.e. Project Bluebeam. When the common citizen finally puts two and two together, best believe all hell is gonna break loose. I'll put a link in the description box of the several plus articles surrounding this subject that I came across for those who want to do their own deep diving. Let's close with this. Back to Joel, the 2nd chapter, and we'll continue with verse 2, and it reads, A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. Again, the speaking to the chariots of the Lord, and as well as the ensuing judgment blanketing the skies. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. A great people here is referring to the ICBM missiles, lined up in formation as a battalion, a literal infantry, if you will. Those hypersonic missiles great in moving at the speed of sound. Verse 3, A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth, meaning the warhead and delivery system as broken down by the elders, set up in an array before them, meaning before they hit a great paradise, before Babylon actually fell. It was Esau's and is Esau's heaven on earth, if you will. Behind them, or after they hit the desert, which speaks to the desolation, the great destruction that comes after the Babylon falling. Verse 4, The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the top of mountains shall they leap. Leap meaning the intercontinental ballistic missiles leaping from one continent to another. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set again in a battle array. Esau is well aware of the picture being painted by here, and I think that's just the case in point. The truth is there ain't enough getting ahead of it, enough technology, CGI, and spinning of fantastical storytelling that's going to make the reality of it coming to pass and Esau's kingdom coming to an end go away. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Akakwadash through the power and spirit. I hope you were edified. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who teach this 100% truth and rule well. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Remember, no test, no jab, damn sure. Don't take that chip. Shalom, Yasharallah. Kwam Yasharallah. Wa Abba Babal.
We may be closer than ever to recreating some of the most iconic tech in sci-fi history.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
We've seen hologram technology move leaps and bounds over the last few years. Maybe you caught Jesse's look at 3D volumetric displays a few weeks ago. Now, researchers from the Interact Lab at the University of Sussex have created three-dimensional holograms you can hear and even feel. They call their device the acoustic trap display. Essentially, it's using sound to manipulate a tiny particle that traces out these images. Here's how it works.